Welcome inside the vault on a Wednesday. It's the 11th of February of 2026. I'm Bobby Trossett, as always, joined alongside my partner and co-host, Sarah Ellison. Today's show is brought to you by our friends at Primary Residential Mortgage. This month, we're doing a new giveaway. A $100 gift card is on the line that can be used directly at thevaultpod.com/shop. That's our merch line. It's our apparel line that we dropped last summer. So looking forward to giving that away randomly. Coming up in a few weeks' time. Partner, we've got a lot to get to today, including the latest hire. And I think there's maybe only one left in terms of like what's notable and what's most notable from a title standpoint. And that would be wide receivers coach, because Anthony Lavine is remaining with the Ravens and he's being promoted from within to special teams coordinator. So we'll begin there. We'll talk a little bit about the staff itself, some Chargers perspective from a player side of things in terms of what the Ravens are getting in Jesse Minter. We'll have a little bit of fun on the national side of things too, Sarah, in terms of, where Jesse's hire ranks maybe among some of his counterparts that were hired in other organizations. We'll take a look at Marlon Humphrey's future and whether or not he'll be in Baltimore. He's the longest tenured defensive Raven. Will he remain a Baltimore Raven in 2026? Brian McFarland spoke on that topic. Max Crosby messaging out there certainly leads you to believe that there's a line that's been drawn in the sand, Sarah, and all that more is what we have coming up. It's great to see you.
Oh, these lines drawn in the sand. We'll get to that in just a minute. But yes, Bobby, we do have a new era in Baltimore. This is just so very different than what we've been used to. And change can be good and change can be bad, but change at least brings rebirth and optimism and hope. And that's what this new coaching staff brings. There you have it. You've got a youth movement among the coaching staff. Jesse Minter at 42, Declan Doyle, who just turned 30, was hired when he was 29, Anthony Weaver at 45, and now Anthony Lavine Sr. at 38. And as we know, Lavine is the latest hire. And Bobby, this outside of Declan Doyle is a pattern with the Ravens, this coaching hiring cycle, in which they literally developed their own coaches, literally from their playing days. Again, that's minus Declan Doyle, but Anthony Lavine is the next one to do that. He got his name co-cap while being a player with the Ravens. Bobby, he was in Baltimore as a player from 2012 until 2021. And he did it on the back of learning how to be a special teams guru, a special teams ace. And for so many years, special teams was phenomenal in Baltimore. John Harbaugh got a lot of credit for that because he was a special teams coordinator before coming to Baltimore. But it's fallen off the last couple years after, Jerry Rosberg moved on. And quite frankly, since Anthony Lavine wasn't playing there. And so the Ravens have developed him as a player for all those years. Then he got his first coaching gig with the Ravens in 2022, literally the year after he retired from his playing days. He had 1 year with the Tennessee Titans as an assistant special teams coach. 2 years, 23 and 24. Came back to the Ravens as the assistant special teams coach. And now today, right now, he officially becomes the special teams coach. And I couldn't be happier for CoCap.
Yeah, he bleeds purple and black. Someone that gets an opportunity here, like you said, went away briefly to kind of cut his teeth with the Titans and has worked under Chris Horton, over the last year or so. So there is a level of continuity. There's obviously an extreme level of familiarity. And I think when you have someone who, to your point, hung around and kept himself valuable, made himself valuable through special teams, that guy gets it. He's detail-oriented. He understands that phase of the game through and through because that's the phase of the game that allowed him a livelihood to remain in the NFL for years. And so you hope that that translates with this internal promotion. He's beloved in the locker room. He was involved with the Super Bowl team in 2012. It was the first year that he got to Baltimore. So, look, Yeah, along the lines of what you opened with, it continues the trend of youth, but it also continues the trend of familiarity, much like Anthony Weaver's hiring does as well. So whether or not that translates to success, obviously will remain to be seen. But this is someone that got other looks too. He got interest, Anthony did, throughout this cycle, not from a coordinator standpoint, from a play calling, I should say, coordinator standpoint, but from a special team standpoint. We know he interviewed with at least the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for their vacancy. So this is someone that clearly was at least garnering some interest elsewhere outside of Baltimore. It's not like they fell back on him, but despite how long this took, but obviously there's a comfort level in keeping him in the building. That's exactly what they did here.
That is actually my question, and I don't think anybody has been more in tune with what's been going on behind the scenes with these these coaching hires than Jeff Zrebeck. And I know you're going to be doing a show with him again tomorrow night. Will you please do me a favor and ask him what was going on behind the scenes and what took so long with this hire? You'd think it'd be one of those simple ones since he was the assistant special teams coach. He's better than him. Nobody knows him better than the Ravens, given his playing days and given his coaching history here in Baltimore. Tennessee might be a close second since he spent 2 years there as a special teams assistant. Like, what took so long? It seems like, is it Jesse just getting to know him? I mean, the two overlapped, obviously, while Jesse was here. So I'm going to need that information from Jeff if you can ask him for us.
I think it's an interesting question, and you're bringing me back to Monday night, when Cole, Jeff, and I were speculating on the idea that maybe wide receivers, coach candidates, and special teams candidates, or a candidate was still involved in the Super Bowl in some capacity. And maybe that was related to the delay. Clearly not. They go with Lavine. They could have made that hire a week ago, or maybe there were conversations had, and they just decided to go in a different direction. So I will write that down for you as Scrap is making, he wants me to write it down. I don't have any paper in front of me, but I got a mental bank up here.
Do you?
Well, yes and no, as you know, as my partner. Yes and no. You know that. Sometimes things do slip my mind. They did this morning. That's just how it goes.
I'll text it to you. How about that? I'll text you right now.
If people only knew what you were really laughing about, there are certain things that in this ever growing requirement of building this awesome show with you and everything we've been doing the last few years, sometimes things inevitably slip my mind, and that could sometimes come back to cause chaos for you, cause chaos for everything that we're trying to do. But yes, thank you for that, and thank you to Scrap and everybody else.
Ask Jay-Z what took so long.
You guys are funny too. At this point, we've made such a thing of it that I feel like the collective live chat tomorrow night is going to be flooded with it. And if that's the case, thank you guys, because I probably will need the reminder. Let's be honest.
Did your phone just ding?
Let's make sure it delivered, huh? Let's see here. There it is.
There it is.
In the flesh, Sarah Ellison with the Bitmoji that your youngest daughter made for me for your contact.
I
on
love
my
it.
phone.
I love it.
So,
all right. Well, meanwhile, though, speaking of almost developing, and by the way, let's not forget, there's been so many former Ravens and current Ravens who have been super happy. I've seen Torrey Smith and some other players that were obviously with him, super happy for him. And then Zach Orr himself reacting to the news. Shout out to my bro on being named special teams coordinator. Happy for you, fam. That's great of Zach Orr. He never got the job as a linebackers coach in Dallas, did he?
I don't think so. And you're bumming for him, in terms of whether or not he's going to have to take a significant step back this season and not even be like an actual titled positional coach. Will he have to be an assistant, a consultant, someone that's involved in the organization without a legitimate position coach? We know the play calling is over. I mean, the play calling is over. It's dried up by now. I don't. Does Arizona have a defensive coordinator? But there'd be some smoke out there, and there wasn't a ton for him, as you know, Sarah. Over the last month, it was really just Dallas, I believe, that had him in for an initial conversation to talk about their opening.
Their linebackers job, though.
I thought initially, though, it was defensive coordinator. I want to say he had one at least initial inquiry about defensive coordinator. Don't quote me on that. I believe that was the case. And then to your point, yes, it did become linebackers coach in recent weeks, and all for naught here. So yeah, as of right now,
you're right about defensive coordinator, by the way.
Yeah. So, does he end up with what's familiar? Does he end up with the Giants organization in some capacity as an assistant under Harbaugh and under Denard? I don't know, but sure seems like this is going to be a step back for him in 26.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that we're this far in, I'm sure he could still be hired as a linebackers coach somewhere. I mean, there's got to be a linebackers coach open somewhere. It's not like we're paying attention to all the openings for that assistant coach position, but it's just a tough pill to swallow, both that you're bummed out for him, but also a tough pill to swallow that we very well, if John Harbaugh was retained, he very well could have tried this for a third year in a row when we all saw the writing on the wall and what was happening. And so I think this just lets you know that the other 32 organizations saw the same thing that we saw, which is that he was not ready to be a defensive coordinator.
It's too bad too, because those linebackers under his tutelage for those couple of years were balling. PQ and Roquan's year in 23. Remember, that was the year that Zio was linebackers coach. That was a historic defense. Now, was that more about what Mike Macdonald was doing schematically and sim pressure wise and all those disguises and amazing little nuances that he built that defense out of? Sure. But those linebackers had 2 Pro Bowl caliber seasons under Zach. So hopefully he gets a chance in that regard, because that's obviously where he made his hay, Sarah, as a player. And for his, personally, for his sake, I hope he does get an opportunity to be a positional coach some point in the near future.
Agreed. Meanwhile, the other coach that it kind of came out at the end of the show yesterday, the other coach that really, again, the Ravens developed from being a player into a coach, because he's been in so many different positions with the Ravens organization. Obviously, he's left and been defensive coordinator elsewhere, but Anthony Weaver, one of those. It's just crazy. Like, they had Jesse Minter in as a young assistant. Obviously, he went elsewhere, but has come back. Anthony Weaver in as a player, and then an assistant here on the coaching staff, left elsewhere, came back. And Anthony Lavine, like I just said, it's just crazy how it's like Ravens are known for developing players, but now they're developing their own coaches.
Yeah. Look, along the lines of Weaver, you and I discussed it a little bit yesterday. The snippet, though, itself, I left out because Rick Minter, going to be an assistant under Jesse, father of Jesse, had some great things to say about Anthony in that interview with 105.7. And one of them was the pride, right? Almost the egoless pride and commitment and love for the Ravens organization that Anthony has to have to take this job. Right? Like, that's what this is. I think that's maybe the most admirable part of Anthony Weaver as a man. And that's who the Ravens are having rejoin their organization. So it will take, I'm sure, hopefully he'll still have a chance to put his stamp on the defensive line, put his stamp, because that's his calling card, right? As a former defensive lineman himself, in Anthony's case, hopefully he'll have a true chance to kind of lead that charge of a group that needs a jolt, of a group that needs, a guy who's been there, done that, leading them. And that's what they're going to be getting in Weaver.
Bobby, just a note, did we send this video out to Twitter?
We did.
Did he?
We did.
Think it's out there.
Yeah, we did.
Okay.
At least, I did what we do. I know that.
It's not out there. We might want to double check that, just an FYI. But I'm gonna turn the page forward. Maybe if you could look into that. As you mentioned, only 2 positions left on the coaching staff. I mean, I'm sure there's other smaller ones that we might not hear much about, but wide receivers coach and assistant special teams coach. So we'll look at that. But Bobby, I thought this was interesting. The Athletics, Jeff Howie, did what we've done. We've seen this thing before, but it's usually with quarterbacks, where insiders, whether from ESPN, Athletic, elsewhere, will poll executives and coaches and other people, the higher ups in some of these organizations throughout the NFL. And he asked a panel of 9 coaches and executives to rank their top 5 head coaching hires of this cycle. Okay. And so I wanted to see where Jesse Minter fell. Obviously, John Harbaugh is of some interest since the Ravens let him go. But there it is. Of all the votes, John Harbaugh received the most votes. He received 6 first-place votes, and which overall gave him 42 points. The other 3 guys that didn't put him first put him second. So here's a former head coach that he said of John. He said, great coach. He has gotten the needed power in that organization. He will win. Let's see here. A rival team executive. Okay. So still currently within whatever organization that is, not former, says Harbaugh seems like a really good fit. I think he'll do well. They'll be really good with their defensive personnel right away. I think they'll take a Chargers type of jump when Jim Harbaugh took over. So yeah, 6 of the 9 respondents ranked him as the best coaching hire. This isn't surprising to me, but I also don't think it's projecting much, Like, I think he'll turn the Giants around. I think he'll make them playoff contenders. But I don't think this means that the Giants necessarily would go further than the Ravens.
Yeah, I'm not surprised about it at all. More of a, a national type of perspective here, and maybe more of a symbol and a sign of where the Giants organization has been, and to your point, I think that Harbaugh will bring a level of culture there and continuity. If his skill position players stay healthy, then I expect the Giants to, be in the thick of it from potential wild card team starting in 2026. So, yeah, not a surprise that he leads the charge. But it doesn't necessarily, this is specific to, I think, a lot of the underperformance that's come along with the Giants and what he's tasked with, being that the last decade there has been extremely disappointing and below expectation and then some. So.
All right. Well, number 2, do you want to guess who number 2 was?
Let me think about this from 1,000 feet up. Gosh, I'm just thinking about all the hires. Well, it's probably not Kubiak. It's not Monken. It's not Halfley. It's not.
Think another former AFC North coach.
Oh, yeah. Stefanski in Atlanta.
Stefanski.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Again, I think this has a lot to do with just what people have seen before. He got 1 first place vote, just 1. He appeared on 8 of the 9 ballots overall, and then he received 1 second place vote and 4 third place votes and 2 fourth place votes. So that gets him 25 points total. A former coach said Stefanski and Matt Ryan's relationship will have stability for an organization that has lacked it. He has already shown that he can win with less, just needs to fix the quarterback situation. It's always just fix the quarterback situation. That's going to be tough. He had that same problem with the Browns. So he's number 2. And number 3 is, there it is, Jesse Minter. He's the highest ranked coach that has never been a head coach in this list. Okay, so he got 24 points, just 1 point less than Stefanski, very close to beating Stefanski. And he also got a first place vote. Okay, so it's just neck and neck with him. He says Jesse Minter is this is an executive the executive that picked him as the best hire. This is what he had to say. Jesse Minter is probably the cleanest fit out of all of them. The closeness to the scheme. It feels like they went for a younger version of the coach they had, a mix of John Harbaugh and Mike Macdonald. Jesse is a stud. They were able to rewind it in a very seamless way. They're minimizing the transition. That's a really important thing to do when you're making a hire. That's an easy one. That another current coach said, the best thing about this hire is the continuity of the organization. It's one of the best, if not the best, overall organizations. Just need to keep defense strong, kicking game elite, and figure out getting over the hump with the offense. So, yeah. So 1 first place vote. He also received 4 second place votes and then a third place vote right there for Jesse Minter. So I think that's a lot of love considering everybody already knows John Harbaugh. Everybody's seen Kevin Stefanski. And then after Minter is Mike McCarthy with the Steelers. And then Jeff Hafley with the Dolphins. Clint Kubiak with the Raiders. Robert Saleh with the Titans. Joe Brady with the Bills was number 8. That's interesting. And number 9 is Mike LaFleur. It's tied, Mike LaFleur and Todd Monken, who both got 0 points. So
I wonder if that's interesting. I wonder if the Joe Brady, I was just thinking about that with how low he is on the list. I wonder if there's some level of doubt about whether or not when the going gets tough, because he's kind of like, look, and they had a lot of success under him as offensive coordinator, and he and Josh clearly have a level of rapport that they felt comfortable enough to, and Josh was, intimately involved with that hiring process from what I've read and whatnot. So maybe he ended up, endorsing it, co-signing. Clearly he did. But the question is, when the going gets tough, does he have the chance to kind of put on his, to me, he comes across as a player's peer in a sense. That when I listened to that press conference, I was like, wow, this guy's kind of a bro. And hey, maybe that's just how he speaks to the media. Maybe that's just how his public persona is. No idea how he will address the team. But when the going gets tough, can he put that bro-like persona away and not be a dictator, not be, strict, but be a guy that's respected from the level of not peer to peer, but player to coach? And I wonder if that's an interpretation that caused him to fall on that list.
Yeah, it's a good question. I was surprised that Mike McCarthy was as high as he was at number 4, especially given how much, people made fun of that, how much the Steelers fans didn't like it. And I also was surprised that Robert Saleh was so low down on the list.
You know what's funny, Sarah, about the top 4 outside of Jesse? And it feels like this is a fair way of kind of summarizing this list and the way they went about it. Outside of Jesse, it's kind of like, hey, you know what? Harbaugh, Stefanski, and McCarthy, they've been there, done that. 2 out of the 3 are Super Bowl winners from their past organizations. It's safe. They're experienced. They should be up there, right? Like is that why they got a hefty percentage of their votes? I wonder.
Right.
Those 3. Whereas Jesse, yes, there's a level of unknown, but wow, this guy screams Raven-like. Yeah, it's different than what they've hired in the past. Yes, he hasn't done it before, but wow, look at the track record. Look at the way he turned around the Chargers defense. Look at what he did at Michigan. Look at his fast riser persona and resume. Like, he's the outlier in the top 4.
Yeah, he is. And if we were to switch our lens and just do AFC North, just AFC North coaches, McCarthy, Minter, Monken, and why is he slipping my mind? Bengals head coach Zach Taylor. I'd put Jesse number 1. I just think he's gonna out scheme them this year. He's gonna bring in some looks. Declan Doyle, I think, he's gonna catch McCarthy off guard. Taylor, Monken, I think he's gonna catch them all off guard. I'd put him number 1.
Yeah, I feel like we got into this a couple weeks ago, and I think Femi maybe was in on this conversation as well. I can't specifically remember, but I know, my conversation or my angle of it was, the projection side of it made me feel a little bit more comfortable in going with McCarthy from a resume standpoint and experience side of things, but that doesn't take away at all from the seamless fit that Jesse is so far and the staff that he's concocting in Baltimore. I could easily see him being the top dog and turning around this defense quickly and allowing Lamar to do what he does. but that's the direction that I kind of went
Yeah. Well, if
in the
this was
show
just
me.
obviously, if this was experience ranked, then Jesse's number 4.
Yeah. If that's the sole, if that's the sole reason, which I think there's more to it, but that's one of the reasons that I decided when we floated that out there a couple weeks ago.
Would you put Todd Monken ahead of Jesse? Like, okay, let me put it this way. If you had all 4 coaches, you're Eric DeCosta, you're Steve Bisciotti. All 4 of them, you could have any of the 4 to make your Ravens head coach. Are you taking McCarthy over Jesse?
So this gets into fit now, and I think they picked the right guy. And out of the 4, Jesse fits the Ravens best fit-wise. If we're talking overall team, and see, I think that's where my thinking comes in here. Why I wouldn't take Todd for the Ravens is because I'm now looking at team. I'm looking at the intricacies of what maybe had run its course in Baltimore. I'm looking at it deeper than just the name.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. So
it does. I'll just say this. Any of those organizations, if I'm in charge of any of the organizations, I'm taking Jesse. If I'm the Browns, I'm taking Jesse, but Jesse wouldn't come. If I'm the Steelers, I'm taking Jesse. If I'm the Bengals, I'm taking Jesse. We've seen what's happened with Zach Taylor. It's not working. So
we have. You know what's interesting? Somebody just chatted in the live saying that McCarthy was a safe hire by Pittsburgh, and I agree with that. Mm-hmm. You know what's funny is there were people who felt like the Ravens hiring Jesse was the safe hire when you looked around and you really dug into who Jesse Minter is and you looked at the other candidates. There was a level of like Ravens safeness based on their principles, based on what they do.
I mean, the safest would have been to keep John Harbaugh, according to Tony Dungy and so many other people who are shocked by it. Because you're like, well, John, when Lamar's healthy, John's going to help you get to the playoffs every single year. That would be safe.
The ultimate one. And the reason why I wasn't endorsing that, or I don't agree with that, is that how can a first year hire be a safe one?
Exactly. I agree.
There's a level of risk that comes with it. So anyway, I think it's fascinating how you almost had a clean sweep in this division at head coach. And if you would have told us before the year that Zach Taylor would be the safe one, like he would have been saved and his entire staff was saved as well, we would have told you you're crazy. But that's what happened.
There we go.
It's exactly what happened.
All right.
He and his entire staff are staying intact. Now, granted, he didn't have Joe for the majority of his season, but a lot of what happened this year in Cincinnati happened in years prior as well. And I don't think there's going to be a coach with a hotter seat, if you will, around him than Zach coming up in 26.
He should have it. He should. You have any reads today, or can we go to the next topic?
We do.
Okay.
We want to say thanks to Primary Residential Mortgage for the continued support of our program. We told you earlier on that this month's giveaway is a little different. In the past, we've been doing $100 Fanatics gift cards. And while that was cool, and you guys got some pretty good merch out of it, we thought, why not unveil a $100 Vault merch gift card? Like, why not? And shout out to Zach from Primary for coming up with the idea, and then Carly for going to implement that on the design side of things. So anyway, a quick message from Primary before we tell you about the giveaway itself. If you're buying a home in Maryland, the Maryland Mortgage Program, aka MMP, offers powerful down payment assistance and grants to help you get there. It's up to $6,000 in down payment assistance. So it's up to $6,000 in down payment assistance. First and second time buyer options they have for you. You've got help for employees, caregivers, and buyers with student loans. You can reach out to Primary through our specific link that we have included in the show notes today. If you're interested in learning more, getting on the phone with them is pretty easy to do as well. 410-663-2222. Go give the Towson branch a visit. If you're in the Maryland area, if you're in the Baltimore area, they got a great team there. Again, that's 410-663-2222 if you're looking to connect with them directly. And then on top of that, Sarah, like we keep mentioning, this February, at the end of the month, we are going to randomly give away a $100 gift card to our merch line, courtesy of Primary. It'll be randomly decided if you go ahead and participate on Instagram. So we have all that information in the show notes. If you're watching live right now, it's a pinned comment in our live chat. And the instructions are as always, as they always are. Comment on the post with the hashtag Vault, tag 3 friends you'd buy a house with. Look at everybody already participating here early on in the process. We love that. We appreciate that. Follow them at PRMI Mid-Atlantic. Subscribe to the Vault with the notifications on if you don't already do so. You can scan the QR code that you see on the screen. You can also, if you want to go the extra mile, copy and paste the Google form link. Fill it out. Takes less than 30 seconds. If you win, you'll easily be able to be reached. Yeah. So coming up later this month, partner. That's what we'll do.
Love it. Love it. Got to get more. I got to get more Vault gear. I got to get on that.
Right?
I enter to win. Just joking.
Right? I mean, there's a winter drop that Carly put together, a month or two ago now as well. So there's some new things like joggers and other merch apparel items at thevaultpod.com/shop. So we appreciate you guys for being with us as always. If you could like the video on your way in, subscribe, hit that notification bell, consider becoming a channel member or a gift giving membership. We'll get to some super chats as they come in. Nothing doing there yet in that department. Partner, let's talk about the future of the longest tenured defensive Raven.
Ooh, okay. So, Bobby, we are definitely in the phase of the offseason where the Ravens are going to have to start opening up money. We've talked a lot about Lamar Jackson and an extension that he and the Ravens are expected to be negotiating even as we speak. But there's some other ways that they can open up some money, and we'll probably still need to. And we get questions all the time about two Ravens defenders, one being Marlon Humphrey and the other being Roquan Smith. And so I'm starting to see more people thinking that Marlon Humphrey might not be here next year if he doesn't take a pay cut. So over at ESPN, a bunch of writers kind of got together and started putting together offseason blueprints for all 32 teams. Jamison Hensley participated in the part for the Ravens, and so did Benjamin Solik. So in that section, he puts out his big prediction for the offseason. He says the Ravens will part ways with cornerback Marlon Humphrey, whether via trade or just an outright cut, says Solik. Again, just a prediction, not like him saying that, he's got any breaking news, just a prediction. He says Humphrey has been one of the most targeted and least successful cornerbacks, deep downfield this season. He would hit the Ravens cap for nearly $20 million in 2026, the final year of his current deal. So that was one person's kind of prediction and opinion. And as you can see here, here's what it would cost to get rid or to cut or trade Marlon Humphrey. Like he just mentioned, his 2026 salary is $20 million. His cap hit is nearly $27 million. And there's the dead money at nearly $20 million in 2026. So, and then they'd only save $7 million. Roquan Smith has very similar numbers. So I was like, okay, does Benjamin Solak really follow the Ravens though? Is he really in the know? And so then I'm listening to Brian McFarland, who you're not going to find, Bobby. You are not going to find a more in tune person with the Ravens salary cap. He was on with Kevin Ostreicher, Locked On Ravens. He's kind of seeing the same thing. Maybe an ultimatum will be given to Marlon Humphrey.
Have some decisions with Roquan and Marlon. Obviously, both of them, there's going to be a lot of dead money if they move on from them, but that's sunk money. It's already gone. I know fans complain about all the dead money on the cap and this and that, but they're going to count that. He's going to count that. They're counting that much on the cap anyway. whether they're here or not, that 20 million in dead money is going to be there here or not, so if you can save 7 million each, do you move on from them? I have a feeling Roquan will be here at that number. Marlon, I think, is only back if he takes a pay cut. And they may decide that they don't want him back anyway, and then they have to decide whether they want the 7 million this year and take him off the books, or get 20 million, almost 20 million this year, but throw another 12 onto in dead money onto next year's cap. So that's kind of the balancing act there.
What are your thoughts, Marlon Humphrey? Could he be? Do you think he realistically could be cut? You're muted.
My thoughts are that we should be. I hope I get healthy soon. I'm sorry about that. My thoughts are that I think we'd be remiss if we don't revisit right now comments made by our guest from last week and a Hall of Famer who understands Marlon's position better than most, and that is Rod Woodson. We talked about Marlon. We talked about the defense last year, and he led us in a direction, Sarah, that perhaps if Marlon is willing to take a pay cut and the Ravens front office and Jesse Minter and the coaching staff would like to see Marlon back if the numbers make sense, then maybe what Rod's talking about here actually gives you a little bit of hope that Marlon has more longevity left within him and that last year was an outlier. Here's Rod Woodson.
Not getting that interior rush or any pass rush at all.
Yeah.
It makes coverage pretty tough. And Marlon Humphrey found out the hard way this year. And I wonder what you think his future is, whether there's some positional flexibility as he transitions to the latter stages of his career and whatnot.
Yeah, well, I know, this past year they went back to the old school way of playing on the low hip, which I'm not a fan of. And we got quite a few deep balls thrown against us because of that. I still think he can play. I think if he plays on the outfield shoulder like he did in previous years, he plays his best football. Is he as fast as he was when he first came into the league? No, but everybody progresses in that manner, right? I still think he can play. I think the combination of him with Wiggins and, whatever other corner that's going to be out there as a player in a nickel package, or if you're playing the three safeties, I mean, it was very productive for the Ravens. So, I like this. I think Humphreys has a lot of still left in his tank. I just think asking him to play on the low hip put him in a bad spot, especially when you don't have the same foot speed that you had 4 or 5 years ago.
What led to that adjustment? Was that
that's a defensive coaching adjustment, which
a technical adjustment or a schematic adjustment?
A technical adjustment, because the old school way of teaching defensive backs used to be, as if you're a receiver and you go up this way, I would play on your low hip here. The new school way of playing was, instead of being on the low hip, I played on the outfield shoulder, and now I'm here on you, and now I'm in better position to make all plays on deep balls. But then when you put your foot in the ground to go back for like an out route or a curl, I can put my foot in the ground and come right back down, and I can see the ball already. So schematically, the coaches changed that. Whoever changed it, I'm not really sure. I just know they changed it, and I think it didn't benefit the group. And I think Marlon had probably the worst part of it because his foot speed was not the same as it was a couple years ago, which is natural.
So perhaps there's a level of optimism in there from Rod, Sarah, that Marlon, under a new defensive regime and scheme and perhaps techniques, I thought Rod did a great job of explaining to you and I that day last week on Radio Row about the technique. It got our pal Jason Smith's attention. He texted us from Huddle It Up Films. He goes, low hip is an old school term that translates to outside shoulder. So basically, Marlon was shading to the shoulder of the wide receiver that's closest to the sideline. I'm betting that Rod thinks that's why Marlon gave up a lot of in-breaking routes over the middle. Love you guys. Have a great day. We'll be having him on, I'm sure, as the draft approaches, Sarah. But obviously, this is a player who was banged up and then some last year. And I do still think that he has some good football left in him. The pay cut if he's receptive to that, I'd want him back on my team. He's got a knack for creating turnovers. He's a physical corner. He played through injuries, and finds a way to take away the football on a team that doesn't do it consistently enough. He's a Raven through and through. My gut tells me that he'd like to finish his career in Baltimore. And so hopefully all that makes sense for him and DaCosta and the numbers wise, and that he's back leading at what is otherwise a young and inexperienced room.
I hear what Rod Woodson is saying. I also agree that Marlon Humphrey could very well have a bounce back season. That being said, even if he bounces back, is that worth $26 million on your cap?
For a slot corner.
Exactly. A slot corner who knows he's going to be transitioning a little bit more to safety. He's been on record saying that. You can't go into the season saying he's going to be my outside corner. Like, you know that you have flexibility with him and you do appreciate what he can do inside, but I can't imagine the Ravens being like, hey, this number, and it's $20 million for your salary. This number is a little bit high. And then his counter is, guys, I'm going to bounce back. You guys had me having a low hip technique. They're like, oh, okay, you're right. Low hip technique. You're right. You're worth it. You know what I mean? So I appreciate like the nuance and the technique descriptions that Rod Woodson gave us. And, you know, he was fighting injury also. But 20 more million for a slot corner, you can't do that, I don't think. So I like what McFarland suggested there, to have a pay cut, and we've seen this before. I felt like Ronnie Stanley might be as good as gone, heading into after the 2023 season, heading into 2024. And then what do you know? Ronnie Stanley took a 50% pay cut. That is not a restructure. Restructure is just what you do. It's an accounting game on the cap. When you restructure, the player is actually getting more money immediately, because to restructure, you have to move their salary into a bonus, which they get immediately. So they're like, sure, go restructure me. I get millions of dollars right now, and you go do your accounting game on the cap. A pay cut is, oh, I'm actually getting less money. Now, one could argue with Ronnie Stanley. I mean, he signed that new deal after the 2019 All-Pro season, and then he was injured right away. So it was almost like you owe us. But he could have gone to the market and tried to get and not taken a pay cut, but he did. So he took a $7.5 million pay cut, and it worked out for him because he bounced back so well that the next year, just prior, after playing so well in 2024, going into 2025, he got a 3-year extension. And he followed it up with a solid year just last year in 2025, and he's under contract for 2026. To me, that's what you go to Marlon Humphrey with. You say, look, we'd like to keep you. We both know where this is headed. You've said it yourself. You're eventually going to be moving to safety. You want to be a Raven for life. Ronnie Stanley said he wanted to be a Raven for life. We can't pay you $20 million in salary as a slot corner. Take the pay cut so we can stay together. And maybe we can work out things just like we do with Ronnie Stanley, where you become a Raven for life. But that's the route you got to go. And I hope Marlon would take it.
I hope he does too, because guess what? Cheeto Awuzie was the most trustworthy corner on last year's Ravens team, in my opinion. Nate Wiggins had a sophomore slump for a multitude of reasons.
He started out strong. That's
yes, he
crazy.
did. Yes, he did. And I'm also willing to believe here that this is more about what wasn't happening up front, and that the hope is with Jesse coming in and hopefully a personnel agenda of beefing up front as much as you possibly can, whether it be through free agency, the draft, and development with who you already have in-house, that will make DBs, particularly outside corners, lives easier in 2026. But if Marlon's no longer in the picture, I'm not feeling really great about where I'm at, because Cheeto's about to hit free agency. He won't be a priority for the team. That'll be a latter half of free agency, I would think. No disrespect to him. The only reason why the Ravens brought him in last year probably was the fact that Tennessee was paying $7.5 million of his salary to suit up for another team. And so this is no disrespect to some of the young guys that are on this roster, like the TJ Tampas and Keon Martins of the world. They're unproven players at this point. And so Marlon, to me, is not only the longest tenured defensive Raven, but he's a proven player. Has he been proven lately? No. I'm willing to sit here and believe that that's been more about injuries and what's happening, not happening up front. And I don't know if that's going to change overnight just because of a coaching change and a new staff, but they better hope that it might, because it's not going to matter who you have out there at outside corner. If you're not getting home, it's going to make their lives very, very difficult. And we've seen that rear its ugly head.
No doubt. We're in agreement there. Pass rusher is huge. But to keep it cornerback, it is more valuable to have a guy who can play outside, and Cheeto did play better outside. So he is a pending free agent. Would you rather take the $7 million in savings, take on the dead money, use that savings, and bring back Cheeto? Because again, the Ravens have been successful in finding slot corners. Certainly don't have to pay $20 million for one. You know? And so it's like, do you take that $7 million and say, hey, I'm going to take that and go find another outside corner, because that's not you anymore? And I know Marlon Humphrey, by the way, to Rod Woodson's point, like, I know he could have a bounce back year, and especially under Jesse Minter. I think he can be better. Honestly, I think that I have no problem with him coming back, because I do think he'll be better. Jesse will make everybody better. But again, could Jesse also use Cheeto the correct way and then find another slot corner for much cheaper? And I think that's what Marlon and the Ravens have to talk about.
Possibly. Yeah. So.
Well, we'll see what happens. Remember, Marlo himself said that he felt that ADC gave him a high percentage of returning. I just don't know if there was more to that conversation. Did he talk about a pay cut, and did you accept one? And so that makes your percentage high? Like, what's...
Why do we both think that there was a little bit more meat left on that bone? And hey, speaking of corners too, and you mentioned Minter and just the immediate impact he's expected to make, someone that worked closely with him, Cam Hart, caught up with Jordan Schultz recently and talked about his perspective on what he received in LA from Jesse Minter.
Start with, you lose Coach Minter, goes to Baltimore. What is Baltimore getting? And for you personally, how do you go about losing a coach like that?
Well, one, what is Baltimore getting? Coach Minter is a terrific coach. I honestly believe he's one of the smartest coaches I've ever played for. He's a football maniac, a relationships dude, and I think that goes a long way. Just the relationships that he built, the camaraderie that our defense had, I attribute that to him. So they're getting a great head coach. He's going to come in there day one. He's going to be one of the guys, be in the locker room, cracking jokes, making sure he understands each and every one of his players. So, yeah. How long did it take for you to develop that relationship with him, and when did you realize that he was a big-time defensive coach? Well, almost immediately. He took the time to I guess study each player and where they're from and the things that we're into interest-wise, and then having Coach O'Leary there as well was good for the relationship, because Coach O'Leary gave him kind of insight of who I was. Yeah. And then it was good. It was good almost immediately. Would you say that Jesse has a comedic side to him? Like, yes. He's pretty funny. Yes, but very serious at the same time. He respects what we do on the field.
Relationships. It comes up in every single media snippet that I swear you and I compile when it comes to Jesse Minter, whether it's him, his father, his players, media members, you name it. Everybody is quick to point out connector, relationship builder, schematic expert. It's what they're getting in him.
Love it. Let's get to one super chat here before we go into the next topic. Kobe's in the house. You want to take this one?
What's up, KP? How you doing, brother? Is it just me, or does anyone else think that signing Njoku, not Samuel, by the way, shout out Samuel, David, who's just announced that his time in Cleveland is over, and a competent offensive line would bring the offense back to the top spot, then trade for someone like Kayvon Thibodeau? Also, do you draft Downs if he falls? Lots going on here. I mean, you and I chatted about Njoku yesterday at length because that news came out right before the show. So his time in Cleveland's over. He's still not 30 yet. He's 29. Yes, has been banged up with injuries, but Sarah, he is a winner. He hasn't played on a lot of winning teams over his career, but the Ravens have gotten to know him very well during his time in Cleveland. He's a heck of a pass-catching tight end. He is always muddying it up and a willing blocker. So there's a lot to like about him. It's just, will he still command not top 5 money, but will he still command a significant chunk of change that the Ravens may feel like, look, we just extended Andrews. We're committed to him. We want to keep Kohler here on something that's not going to break the bank in terms of an extension. And we're planning on letting Isaiah test free agency, and we all expect him to get, a handsome deal. That was kind of my read on this yesterday.
Yeah, and to his question, like, to me, you put together an offensive line, that alone is going to bring the offense back. What I love Njoku next to Mark Andrews, for sure. But, I mean, just build those trenches, and everything else will fall into place. I don't know if Kayvon's available for trade. I haven't heard much about that. And then the question about, do you draft Downs if he falls? Talking about Caleb Downs. I do not want another safety in the first round. I love Kyle Hamilton. Starks has been a solid addition, but really, and Caleb Downs obviously is in this conversation for a reason. But holy moly, please no. I can't do it. I can't do it a third time.
Where's he been following in mock drafts, guys? Does anybody been keeping up with that? I think he's been pretty universally mocked around that top 10, right? So yeah. Ravens are at 14. Look, they got decisions to make, Sarah, on the safety position outside of Kyle. Kyle's going to be in Baltimore for the foreseeable future. What are you doing with Alohi? Does he have a rapport level with Jesse that would make him want to stay, or do the Ravens want him to stay? What's your decision on Ardarius Washington? Did you make that decision in large part last year when you threw that tender on him, and then he wasn't too pleased with that based on his tweet, the cryptic tweet? I remember covering that about a year ago. It's a young and inexperienced. I guess it's not young. Okay, how about this? I'm already viewing the room with Alohi out of it because he's a free agent right now. So if you do that, even though the new league year doesn't begin for another month, it's a young and inexperienced room outside of Kyle. So yeah, he can solve a lot and minimize and mask a lot. So I'd be pretty surprised if they go back-to-back years within 4 or 5 years. What was it, 2022? Kyle was 14 overall. I'd be pretty surprised if they go back to that well.
Pretty surprised.
Thanks, KP.
And a little bit upset. and I'm sure I would love Caleb Downs 5 years from now or 4 years from now, but I just need trench work.
I was going to say, right? Building the organization from the inside out.
Yeah.
Is what I think we're both craving.
Yeah.
Just an investment in that philosophy, both through the draft and free agency, because that's been the formula for the last 2 Super Bowl winners. And you could probably go back even farther than that. So I'm sure we're not alone in that craving.
No. Next one is from Dre Dog. He says, do we see any tag and trade scenarios for Tyler? I doubt that one. It's going to be, I don't know, around 23 million. Something like that. We're in the mid 20 millions for to tag him, and I get that you would trade him next, but I think other teams are just like calling the Ravens bluff. Oh, you want to put all that cap? You're going to put all that money on your cap this year? I don't think other teams would believe that the Ravens would do that. Just be like, okay, no, I think I'll take my chances with him just hitting free agency. You know, I can't see that personally.
No, he's coveted. This is a coveted player. And by the way, live chat's helping me out. I didn't mean to snub Malachi Starks by talking about the safety position. I just meant he's a part of the organ. He's obviously a key part, and on his rookie contract for the foreseeable future. But yeah, as for Linderbaum, man, I hope they get something done, Sarah. He's somehow an unsung hero, and yet everybody's talking about it. Center needy teams with free agency coming up. Everybody's talking about it nationally as, man, he would be the guy. He's the coveted prize. Hopefully the Ravens see him as a coveted prize, because you don't want to start over there if you don't have to. Prophet Q celebrating 2 months of channel membership. He writes, did Marlo lead the team in interceptions? Yes. I'd be interested to see how that count might go up versus consistently pressured quarterbacks for a pay cut, though. So Prophet Q, and I believe he and Wiggins were neck and neck in that category. I'll just look it up quickly so that we're being thorough here.
Accurate, all of those things.
Yes, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Let's see. Interceptions leader for 2025. I want to say Marlon had it by 1. Yes, he did. 4-3. Wiggins had 3. Marlon had 4. And that was in 2 less games than Wiggins.
Yeah.
Humphrey
And the
played.
irony is that wasn't it he'd get interceptions after he broke his hand?
Right. Because we were joking. We were kind of messing with him at one point because of his return being a little hesitant after the catch. And clearly that was just because of his finger not wanting to be.
There you go. KP is back. He says, I'm thinking Minter, being a DB coach, may not be able to resist a generational safety to pair with another, and then you're not worried about deep balls. Yes. Obviously, if Minter were to get a third safety, he would do wonders with it for sure. And he will, I'm sure, have some sort of influence, but this is going to be EDC's call. And I'm just curious who else is available. Who else is available? Like, what are you making the choice between? You know what I mean? Sometimes it comes down to that, not just in a vacuum.
Yeah. Yeah. And hey, I feel like a minute ago, we glossed over Malachi unintentionally. You know, look, I think my mind was more on if Kyle's going to be used as he has in the past, right? And the idea as our first, as KP wrote about Downs, Caleb Downs, the idea of taking a safety in the first round, in my mind, I was like, oh, maybe I won't close the door on that just because you're going to use Kyle like the unicorn that he is. In my mind, it was like, okay, who's going to be Malachi's running mate? It wasn't ignoring Malachi. It was who's going to be his running mate.
Yeah.
If that makes sense from an alignment standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why my mind went to guys that are set to hit free agency, which is Alohi and Ardarius. So appreciate you, KP. Let's see. Man, he's just dumping them all today. He's got a lot.
He's going.
He says, when you're feeling down, know that it could be worse. You could be the Falcons and effectively losing 2 firsts in a week.
Oh, because of James Pierce?
The Falcons got to be, that's a whole legal. Yeah, the James Pierce situation from last week appears to be very ugly. They also, I saw, plan on releasing Kirk Cousins, who was the most expensive backup in the league last year, but money well spent, because when Penix went down, he kept them afloat. He wasn't able to lead them to the postseason, but he kept them afloat, played good football. Now, obviously, Stefanski, their new president of football ops, Matt Ryan, are tasked with developing their young quarterback. But yeah, that's an ugly situation, KP. I've kind of kept up with that from afar, Sarah. I'm sure you have too, just through various X posts and whatnot.
Yeah.
That's ugly.
Just kind of peripherally. The other thing that we've been keeping up with is Max Crosby and kind of what's going on over there, just because we have been talking a lot about wanting to retain to get a pass rusher. And Jason LaCanfora putting some news out there yesterday after he spoke to a GM and basically said that Max Crosby told the Raiders that he'll never play with them again, according to this GM. So this is what Jason LaCanfora wrote. He said, one NFL general manager who would have interest in trading for Crosby said, quote, he told the Raiders owner and future Hall of Fame quarterback Tom Brady he will never play for the Raiders again. That's a fact. He told them he'll retire before he ever plays for them again. But I'm not sure they're actually going to trade him. Myles Garrett said the same thing last year, and we know how that ended up. Of course, he got a massive new deal, broke the bank a little bit for him. So then Jason LaCanfora goes on to write, saying though that not sure that the Raiders will bend to Max, even if he did say, yeah, I'm going to retire before I'll play for you again. Because he's ticked off, for those that don't know, he's ticked off that they put him on injured reserve when he felt like he could still play. So an agent told Jason, he said, it's tough to tell Tom Brady what he has to do. I've done some sniffing around and I know it's early, but I don't think the Raiders want to move him. Maybe I'll end up looking stupid for telling you this, but I don't think they'll move him. And then a GM said someone is going to offer them 2 first-round picks, but I don't think they'll jump at it. I think you're going to have to really knock them over. So, yeah, this is interesting, Bobby, because last year around this time, they're right. Like the Myles Garrett stuff was going on. And he put such a line in the sand that it almost was like, Browns, you have no choice. He doesn't want to come back. And then the next thing we know, he like backed up the Brinks truck and he's like, oh yeah, I'm happy to be here. And I like the plan that we've got, going on. So is Max Crosby, built the same way, or is he going to say, no, I want out of here. You didn't play me. I wanted to play. This is all about football for me. So this will be interesting. But when the GM said there's going to be a team that will offer them 2 1s, I don't think that team would be the Ravens. Not 2 1s.
Nope. And I think you and I both agree that there will be that will happen. That there
I think somebody will offer it. I don't know that the Raiders will take it, but I think somebody would offer it for sure.
Right. Whether or not they take it obviously remains to be seen. But will there be teams inquiring and be willing to give up that capital? Based on recent history and what we have to go off of, you're darn right. I think so. And I don't. And guess what? I don't blame the Ravens if they wouldn't be willing to do this. I don't. I think that cripples a team. And especially when you've hit on the first round the way they have in recent years, and you think about where those first rounders have gone to and been a part of in terms of impact. Kyle Hamilton and Zay Flowers come to mind. Linderbaum comes to mind. I get it. Bateman's been a struggle. Perhaps one of the reasons why he's on this proposal here. And his future in Baltimore is certainly uncertain, perhaps, based on some of his online behavior in recent weeks. But I wouldn't. Not for that.
Yeah, I would be inclined to not do that also. But if we had KP's situation where it was Caleb Downs, a 3rd safety drafted in the first round in the last, 4 or 5 years. Okay, give me... That's what we're going to use it on, is safeties, endless safeties, then yes.
I hear you. It doesn't make you want to scream from the rooftops about your team. I get that. But the idea that would then... All right, here's what I want to tell. Here's what I will just say to that. Wouldn't it give you some level? It's not a sexy proposal. It's not something that's going to be headline worthy. But given the new regime, does it in any sense entice you wondering what the defense might look like with
No.
3 first round safeties and the potential development that's coming in for what hasn't gone right up front?
Bobby, you just said yourself a few minutes ago that to defend Marlon Humphrey, that nobody can cover forever if you can't get after the quarterback. There's no
Correct.
defense. We got to get a defensive line in there.
Correct.
And offensive line. No,
But-
I'm not. I do not want 3 first-round safeties. I do not.
But I'm playing a little bit of a hypothetical right now. I get that. Within that hypothetical exercise, in my mind, it's God forbid you get some you get good news on the Namdi front. You get development with the new staff coming in from the Mike Greens of the world, and you spend in free agency and you address the trenches. That's the hypothetical world I was living in to ask you, would you be enticed with that new type of
I mean,
defensive
sure, if the
regime?
Ravens were able to shore up both the offensive and defensive line and it was all set before we went into the draft, then sure. I just don't think that that's realistic.
It may not be realistic that Namdi's even back. So
That's true. We don't
that
know.
remains to be
I don't
seen.
want 3 first-round safeties. 2 of them at pick number 14?
I
You-
know.
All right,
Not
let's go-
advocating for it, to be
Let's
clear.
go to this. Some more hypothetical things. Lamar Jackson, it doesn't matter what he posts. It's going to have people talking. This I'm putting as a quick hit for a reason and not as like a lead or a title or anything like that. But yesterday, Lamar Jackson posted the following on his Instagram stories. First, it has him walking up some steps into a plane that does not look like a commercial plane. Looks like it's private. I have no clue if this was a picture from during the season. I have no clue if this is a picture that's recent. But then the next photo just got people or the next video got people going more. They're like, oh, look, he put a video up where behind him for a split second, a digital board put better outcomes. And then he went over in this same video and dapped up Tyler Linderbaum. So, of course, because everybody wants to believe it, it's like, ooh, he's coming to Baltimore to get an extension, to free up money, to sign his Pro Bowl center. That's what everybody wants it to be. So that's
Which
what
is
everybody's
hysterical.
talking about.
Which is hysterical because looking at this for the first time, the far left graphic that you have boarding the plane sure just seems like it's from Ravens Productions boarding an away trip.
Right.
During the
From
season.
during the season. That's what it
Yeah.
looks like. That's right.
Yeah, which is hysterical. And I'm pretty sure I recognize the outfit there from exactly that, a road trip from earlier this season.
Oh, you do?
But hey, it's that
Okay.
time of year. What are you going to do?
Yeah. Well, we
Both
see what we
dudes-
want to see for sure because we want to see an extension and we want to see Tyler Linderbaum back. So we see what we want to see wherever we look.
Both dudes featured in these stories need extensions.
Yes,
No
they do.
question. Whether or not these graphics will lead to extensions, I don't know.
Right. Right. I really don't think I'm going to be taking my cues on these extensions from these Instagram posts stories. There we go. What else here? This is interesting because everybody's like, ooh, we'd like to see this from Jesse Minter. Ted over from he's the Athletic, right?
Ted does a bunch of stuff. Not
He's
sure
all
if
over-
he's
he's all over
specifically
these
with the
film
Athletic.
analysis, all that kind of stuff. Anyway, he tweeted, interesting. Kubiak said that Mike Macdonald challenged the offensive staff every day, and he would have to answer questions about the offense's performance after every game. Some defensive coaches are hands off. That was not Mike Macdonald, apparently. Mike's like, hey, tell me what you're doing, and I'll tell you how I'm going to beat you. Sounds pretty good.
Yeah,
Hopefully
I actually caught this.
Jesse can challenge Declan Doyle in the same way.
Yeah, this is cool. Definitely. This came up in my timeline as well. The video form of this, this transcription. So, it just made me think of what we talked about in recent weeks about Kubiak's candidacy. You know, is he going to have a chance to go take that and let it translate to his role as a head coach in Vegas for the first time? And Mike's on quite a tour right now, on all the late shows and having himself a blast. I mean, it's kind of hilarious to see him on Jimmy Kimmel. There he is right there.
Did you watch it? I haven't seen it yet.
I've only seen a couple clips on X, and Mike just being Mike. He's like, I didn't really know what to do after I won because cameras were surrounding me, and I sort of just looked up. He goes, I sort of just looked up at the fireworks as cameras completely engulfed him.
Yeah.
So it's hysterical.
I just love this for him, man. What a rise. What a life. How old is he again?
38.
38 Super Bowl champion head coach.
Third youngest of all time.
Unreal.
Yeah.
You go live it up, Mike Mack.
Third youngest of all time. And they're doing a parade today in Seattle. Maybe some of you are West Coast people. Parade day in Seattle. So there should be a lot of content as I speak, as I say that. Mike has the Lombardi in his hand from the NFL account at the Seahawks parade. So it's a good day to be involved with the Seahawks organization.
Did you see that video of Sam Darnold? And I'm trying to think who his teammate was in the teacup ride at Disney together.
That was pretty funny.
It was just the two of them in the teacup.
I'm pretty sure that was the MVP with him, Kenneth Walker.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I got to tell you, while we're on the Sam Darnold topic, his girlfriend put up a post that had me emotional today, just from a human standpoint. Can this have happened to a better guy? The entire NFL world wrote the guy off. He had the ghost one-liner from his stint in the Jets, following him and being a shadow his entire career. Goes to Minnesota last year, rips off 14 wins. They let him go for J.J. McCarthy. Mike's like, hey, we're going to trade Geno Smith and bring in Sam Darnold. And here they are, Super Bowl champions. His fiance has been with him every step of the way. And the last caption, the last part of the caption had me with a tear earlier today. Tears in my eyes. As long as I'm alive, you'll always have someone who's proud of you and everything that you do. It seems simple, but I love this. And maybe it was the Coldplay Yellow song that was attached to this post that had me going. Or maybe it was my meds.
Or maybe it's that you're single and looking for a wife that will have your back like that.
You know what? Men don't want much. I don't think I want that much. I'm picky, but this is pretty cool. I hope everybody has a partner like Sam does, because this is a pretty cool post right here. And Sam's been through it all and came out on the other side. So pretty cool.
So wait, so they've been together since when, did you say?
I don't know.
I'm very curious. Like, has she been with him since college?
Yeah, I don't know, but they're engaged. And probably going to have the year of their lives, right? 2026 is starts with a Super Bowl, maybe ends with a wedding. Maybe they'll have it at some point in the off season, but it's pretty cool. I love Coldplay, by the way. That might have been it. Might have been more about Coldplay.
Since early 2023.
Cool.
And he had his bounce back year really in 24.
Yep.
So, okay.
Yep.
All right. Well, let me tell you something. I feel the same way as her. I ridiculously smitten by my husband, loyal to him through and through. It's ride or die forever. No matter where he goes, I go. He's my home for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what is it? We're 18 and a half years married now. Met him in 2005. Known him for 20 years. It's unbreakable at this point.
Yeah, you want somebody that when he faces, you've been his rock when he's faced adversity, vice versa. Sam's shared and faced a bunch of adversity throughout his career, more than I'm sure a lot of us could even ever relate to. And here he is, ended up with, I mean, come on, the perfect match. Mike Macdonald with a stellar defense, a good run game, 2 years at the helm, 1 year for Sam in Seattle, and he's hoisting the Lombardi. So pretty cool. By the way,
good for him.
It might have been more about Coldplay than it was the story. All right. To be clear, live chat, getting all over me. I love Coldplay.
It's okay that it meant something to you. Isn't that what most really men or women are looking for? Somebody who's with you thick and through?
Yeah, absolutely.
Thin and thick. Yeah.
Through thick and thin. Yeah. I mean, I'm telling you, Coldplay is there's an emotional, it's an emotional band.
I do like some Coldplay songs. Okay. Here, let me help you out if you're wanting to, I don't know. Here we go.
Well, you know what I was thinking about was what happened at that concert, at the Coldplay concert over the summer. That was not very emotional at all.
And that was the opposite of what we're talking about here, which is to be
Correct.
loyal.
Infidelity is what that was. Anyway, the transition to Miles Boykin, who calls it a career. The perfect segue. Yes, former Ravens third-round pick. Man, the NFL is hard. Here's the segue. The NFL is hard because when Miles Boykin was drafted in the third round in 2019, he had all the measurables, the prototypical type of guy that could have been an ex-wide receiver in Baltimore for a long time, Sarah, and he never, unfortunately for him, never was able to realize his potential in the NFL, and he just called it a career.
Bobby, Miles Boykin is, I'm guessing, at least 95% of us who have been following the Ravens for some time have somehow been reeled in and started to believe in a receiver when he started just popping off in training camp. And that was the year that both him and Hollywood Brown, I believe, was drafted. And Hollywood had that list, Frank, coming back from the foot injury, and he just wasn't doing anything during training camp. I mean, it was just whatever. Miles has that opportunity, and he just is every single day reports about how he's showing up at practice. And I believed, Bobby. I believed. Poor 2019 Sarah. If I could only talk to her now. Because it got to the season, and it was like the X receiver, and it's finally happening. And it was until it wasn't. So he was with the Ravens for 3 years. And then the Ravens traded him to the Steelers, right?
He went to Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I can't remember if he was cut and they picked him up or if they traded him. I can't remember how that went down.
I think it was just a release.
Okay, just a release then before his rookie contract was up.
Right.
His best season was 2020. He had 266 yards, 4 touchdowns, and then 2021 just nothing. 1 catch for 6 yards.
This is disappointing. You know, it's disappointing. NFL's hard, man. He was never able to find his footing. He tried through special teams, and to your point, after Pittsburgh, he really just kind of started hopping around from practice squad to practice squad, trying to find a 53-man roster spot, and that included the stops at the Giants, Seahawks, and Bears before he ultimately called it a career this week. So, hey, it's tough.
Yeah, it's tough. Well, we wish him well. I'm sure it's tough for him to realize that it might be over, but wish him the best. And man, it's just the fate that too many people meet after they're drafted to the NFL.
Yeah, well, think about it. You know, he's got a lot of life left to live. He's 29 years old. This happens more. We're just talking about it because it's a Ravens perspective. This happens every year.
Every year.
So, it's just closer to home from a Baltimore perspective that he's got to confront that football mortality before 30. So, hey, he'll go on. He's Notre Dame educated, Sarah. Who's to say he won't go on to a extremely successful second act here and whatever. I'm not sure what he majored in, but I think we both know when you got that Notre Dame label attached to you and you got a few years in the National Football League, he'll be just fine. Who knows? Maybe he transitions into coaching. Not sure what his interests are, but best wishes to him moving forward.
All right, let's close up with some super chats here, maybe.
Yeah, we left off with KP, so Lewis gets us restarted. And what's up, Lewis? Celebrating 11 months of channel membership. That means that Lewis has been on board with us since the moment that we rolled out memberships in March. And Lewis writes, nothing really that new here. Bobby, please get some rest. Sarah, stay beautiful without the H. We got to hold Lewis to some grammatical. We love you, Lewis. Love you too. We love you, Lewis. I'm trying my best, man. I got my butt up after 8 hours this morning, Sarah, and pushed through a 7 a.m. workout because I wanted to be energized and ready to go for this show. And I'm still muting myself, so I guess that didn't work. This one's a good one from KP.
Get someone who looks at you like Sarah looks at Max Crosby.
To be fair,
imagining him and Jesse closing out a fourth quarter lead after Lamar Jackson got it. Yes.
I was going to say, to be
I'm here for
fair,
that.
I think a lot of people look at Max Crosby the way that Sarah does. I might even. because
KP,
he's a
you don't look
dog.
at Max like you would like him in Baltimore? Come on,
He's a-
man.
He's a dog, man.
It's not going to happen, but I would like it.
Oh, man. Appreciate you, KP. That brings us to Dreams. Queon says there's a Max Llewellyn in the draft this year. Yes, there is. He's an Iowa Hawkeye, which means the Ravens might have a level of interest or familiarity. They love that program. Eric loves that program. The organization loves that program.
Especially in the trenches.
Yes, they do. Declan Doyle loves that program. He gave them he was given a chance by them when he was an undergraduate at Iowa as a student assistant under Kirk Ferentz. And so Max Llewellyn is the defensive end, just finished up a 4-year career at Iowa.
6'5", 263, 6.5 sacks last year. 2 forced fumbles.
They love that program, Sarah. Joseph Burton's in-house for you.
He says, this is not a private plane. It's an Atlas 747 parked at Taxiway Y in BWI. It's from the season. No snow on the ground. It's the team's charter. Yeah, that's what we said. It looked like it was from a team flight going away.
Okay.
It was for sure not a commercial flight. We knew that.
So down to the bottom of what we got, though, ultimately.
He's cut it all.
Confirmation.
Atlas 747. He knows the taxiway. How do you know all this, Joseph? How do you know the taxiway?
I like this, though. This is good. I interpreted it correctly. And I think we both knew that was the case.
Wait. Is that because look at his profile. Is he flying a plane?
Let's see. Oh, sure looks like he's in the cockpit.
Oh, he's a pilot.
Okay.
Or
a photo op.
playing one on TV. Playing one in his profile picture.
Might be a photo op. If it's not, heck yeah. Regardless of whether or not it is. It's a cool photo. Joseph, we'd love to have you enlighten us what you do for a living. Appreciate you. Thanks for the super chat. Eileen is celebrating 7 months of channel membership. Do you think that Owe showing quick major improvement could mean there is a lot of untapped potential for Minter to bring out of existing players? Heck yeah. Some of that scheme driven. Some of that's going to be about who he has underneath him, Sarah. The Lou Espositos of the world, who was brought in from Michigan as defensive line coach. All the above is going to be important for the development of Mike Green and the rest of that supporting cast. The rest of that supporting cast.
And then, is this Isaac? ISC 758. He says yes, but why did Lamar post this? Lamar had not posted anything for a long time. I don't know. I don't know why he posted it. I'm just saying I can't take the leap to be like he's on the way to Baltimore to sign his contract. I'd love for that to happen, but I'm not going to make that assumption based off of these posts. But that's a fair. You might want to ask LJ. Reach out to him.
A DM of maybe.
Why'd you
he'll
do
be
this?
checking his DMs,
He does like to troll. I know that. He trolled a lot. What offseason was it where he was just trolling left and right?
What offseason wasn't it? He's always doing that. And maybe this is a sign of things to come in that department. You never know. Appreciate you guys today. Anise and Jason Barrett, thank you both for believing in what we're building. We appreciate you guys very much for the support that you give us through Patreon on a monthly basis. Patreon.com/Ravens Vault Podcast is where you can learn more about what we're offering over there inside the channel. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you. And thanks to Primary Residential Mortgage for the continued support of our program. My Timber Shivered wants to get in before we get out. And he writes, our wide receiver letdowns. Good Lord. Tommy Streeter, Rashad Perriman, Devin Duvernay, James Prochet, Tandon Doss, Campanaro, Marcus Smith, Justin Harper, Mark Clayton, Demetrius Williams. They never got developed as my Timber Shivered rips off. How many names?
10. Martin
10 names.
Clayton did some stuff, but for a first-round draft pick, he didn't live up to expectations. Here's what's funny about Tandon Doss, and I still feel sheepish for saying this. The year that the Ravens traded away Anquan Boldin, the Ravens were pushing Tandon Doss. And I remember, by the way, going to a work party with my husband. And this was at Hopkins at the time. And one of the doctors there was livid, just livid, that the Ravens traded away Anquan Boldin. And do you know what my sorry butt did? I was like, oh, but just watch this Tandon Doss up and coming. He's like, he about chewed me out. He was so right. Tandon Doss was the line push when they traded away Anquan Boldin. What's this? Who got hired? Is this the wide receivers coach?
Well, how funny is it that my Timber Shiverd's talking about all these busts in his mind?
Yeah.
And the Ravens went and just moments ago, according to Matt Zenitz, who's been on top of a lot of these staff hires, hired a wide receivers coach. So this is not a name that had previously been publicly known from a Ravens interest perspective. But according to Matt Zenitz, their final staff hire is Kiri Colbert as wide receivers coach. He's a former NFL wideout himself. He was the Denver Broncos wide receiver coach the last 3 seasons under Sean Payton. Before that, he was a wide receivers coach at the college level for the Florida Gators and the USC Trojans. And now he is coming to Baltimore to be the next wide receivers coach under Jesse Minter and, of course, Declan Doyle on the offensive side of the ball.
Another Sean Payton guy. They are going a certain direction. It's as clear as day. It's as clear as day. Yeah, he had a career. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh no, it's just with okay, never mind. He was with 4 different teams in 2008. So never mind. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then how did he come back in and play? He had nothing until 2011. Between 2008 and 2011. Interesting. Yep. But yeah, no, they're bringing in that Sean Payton offense, that Sean Payton inspired offense, which, Declan Doyle is familiar with. Who else did the Ravens, what other coach was from the Broncos this hiring season?
Well, let's pull up Cole Jackson's graph, which
it was Joe Lombardi, right? He's from the Broncos.
Joe, definitely. Yep.
So where's Israel come from again?
Israel's Arizona.
Okay.
Israel Woolfolk. And again, this graphic right here is not updated yet, obviously. Right. This was from earlier that reflects Anthony Lavine's hiring. And it looks like they do still need an assistant special teams coach as well to go along with Randy Brown. But in terms of, big time titles, as you look here, this probably kind of finalizes that group. And again, the breaking news is that Kiri Colbert is expected to be the newest wide receivers coach in Baltimore. That's courtesy of Matt Zenitz on X. So there you have it.
Was it I'm trying to think. I feel like there was one more from Broncos. Maybe I'm wrong. Was Grossi from the Broncos? Yes, Grossi. So that's 3 from the Broncos. Woo! The Ravens are picking apart Sean Payton's staff. Although Sean Payton let go of Joe Lombardi.
Yes,
but Joe Lombardi, and then Zach Grossi, who was for the Broncos, their pass game specialist. So he was rising from offensive quality control to pass game specialist for the last 2 years. So there's him, and now it's this new guy whose name I've already forgotten.
Kiri Colbert. Yep.
There you go. While we were talking about wide receivers and busts, by the way, notice that my timber shivered. Didn't note any guys really that Eric DaCosta has drafted. Although I would say Bateman hasn't lived up. But Hollywood Brown and obviously Zay Flowers doing well for themselves. So it feels like under the Ozzie Newsome regime, they kept missing at wide receiver. Eric DaCosta has been better, But now Eric DaCosta hasn't been hitting at pass rusher, which Ozzie Newsome did really well.
Yeah. Good point. It's funny how he led us perfectly into that. Olu says, just a thought, if we don't get Tyler back, we have a guy behind him that's been here for a year. With the coaching upgrade, do you think he can get our backup ready? And would that save us money? Well, there's just no guarantee that. I mean, Linderbaum's a perennial Pro Bowler, Sarah. So there certainly isn't any guarantee that there wouldn't be a drop-off. And we're talking about an undrafted free agent. No disrespect to him. I thought he played well in the preseason from what we saw of Corey Bullock. But
I'd be down. Sorry,
well
go ahead,
enough
Bobby.
to dictate, well enough to dictate some clear projection and speculation that there might not be any drop-off. I don't know about that.
I'll just say this. I would think that Olu would have a better point if the Ravens weren't also looking for 2 new starting guards.
Sure.
I just don't see how you can be like, hey, we're all in. We're getting a new head coach. We're all in behind Lamar Jackson. We're going to restructure his stuff, his contract. Oh, and we're going to have 3 new interior offensive linemen for Lamar Jackson?
Yeah.
Boo, I don't like that.
Yep. I think that's the way to look at it. You already have enough to retool. Why retool another position? That's a dangerous, slippery slope.
That's scary.
Yep. By the way, there's a connection that goes back even further than Denver for Kiri Colbert, who's the newest Ravens wide receivers coach, according to Matt Zenitz. Right, the Denver connection is that he and Joe Lombardi were on the same staff together. But if you go back even further, Jesse Minter in 2013 was on the Georgia State staff. And guess who else was on that staff? Kiri Colbert and PJ Volker, who's best friends with Jesse Minter.
Okay.
So
there you go.
Not only is there this Denver connection, Sarah, but there's also well back over 10 years ago, a connection that goes back that far. So
it really is a lot about who you know. I mean, you got to be good, but you also got to know people.
That brings us to another one from Joseph Burton for you answering our question.
Oh, he's letting us know he's a manager of engineering for airlines out of BWI. When we do high power runs after fixing, we go to Y. When the Ravens fly out, we can't use it. Okay, he knows.
That's dope. That's pretty cool.
Wow.
Appreciate that, Joseph.
Manager of engineering. I feel like Joseph's got to be wicked smart.
And I feel like that's a level of you got to show up every day with your A game.
Airplane power runs after fixing. Woo.
Heck yeah. Beast. My Timber Shivered says I only had 200 characters. I could still be going after those 10 names.
So he's saying he would have added Rashad Bateman.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Sure
and maybe he would have added others. I would not add Hollywood or Zay Flowers. But
I was going to say, Clayton. Yeah. Couldn't you replace Clayton with Bateman? But
yeah.
I guess Rashad's story is still being written, but that's if he has a chance to keep writing it if he's on the team. He's under contract, but will he be on the team in 26? We'll see. Joseph Burton also writes, I want the Ravens flying mechanic contract badly. Oh, I'm sure. Because I assume you're a fan. That's why you're here, right? You're a huge Ravens fan, I would think.
Yeah.
Kevin Carver, 25, is celebrating 4 months of channel membership with us.
He's saying, don't forget Ozzie's first round wide receiver flop in Travis Taylor. That might have started it all.
They all have them, right, Sarah? Every GM has them. Even the great Ozzie Newsome.
The Ravens have more at wide receiver for sure.
They do. They do.
They have. That doesn't take away Ozzie's greatness or anything like that. But we all know that wide receiver, what is his weak spot when you go look at his draft record.
No doubt.
It's a pattern.
No question. Intentionally Grounded since 1986, which is an interesting name. Seems like a no-brainer they would tag Linderbaum if no deal is reached. No other real tag candidates and not too cap prohibitive for a center.
Oh, that's the opposite of that. Here's the problem with it.
Expensive, man.
When you tag people, you have to tag them for the average of the top 5 offensive linemen, which includes some of the most highly paid positions on the team, which is left tackle. So if you tag Linderbaum, you're paying him well above the highest paid center. It is very prohibitive.
Yeah. For a player that
you might as well just sign him for a 1-year deal to be the next highest paid center. That's just like maybe like $500,000 more rather than millions more.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
not that Tyler would take that. He would want a long-term deal, obviously, but
that's a DNE, man. Do not engage.
Is that what DNE means? Okay.
For one of them, yeah. Appreciate you intentionally grounded. Olu writes, Sarah, I don't want it, but you have multiple teams wanting to drop the bag at him. This maybe is our reality. Tyler is our guy, but we can't pay or won't pay 19 or 20 million. Can't see it.
You might be right, but I'm going to be ticked if the Ravens let him hit the market.
Me too.
That is not that. In the words of Rod Woodson, they would be crazy to let him hit the market.
Yeah, I think they know that too. You know, Olu's referring to, you know, a couple super chats ago regarding the development of Corey Bullock, a former undrafted rookie who's been in the organization for the last couple of years. And obviously there's a level of, unproven reality with the idea of giving him the keys of the car as a starting center.
New offensive line coach, James Ledford. Is that his first name? I know his last name. Dwayne Ledford. Dwayne Ledford. He's good. But you say, hey, take Emory Jones, who's coming off essentially a redshirt season with a shoulder injury, and take Bullock and take question mark at right guard and protect our MVP quarterback, who theoretically at that point will have just signed a extension that makes him the highest paid quarterback again. That's the plan. It cannot be the plan. Yeah. I hear what Olu's saying. It cannot be the reality. It cannot be the reality that EDC lets us walk into. They have power to make sure that's not our reality.
Yep. Appreciate you, Olu. And hey, hopefully Corey continues to develop, Sarah, because he showed flashes in preseason. You wish him the best, but they got enough to worry about along the offensive line and in the development department and in the potential retooling of legitimate starters department as well. Both guards.
Olu, appreciate your super chats. Thank you.
Thanks to everybody. You know, I feel like we were in the middle of our topic yesterday. Just another shout out to Dinero Tronquillo for that $200 super chat that he dropped in based on his love of Bad Bunny's halftime performance, and the ratings were through the roof. That guy went out there and rocked the freaking world, and the ratings certainly backed that up. So, you know, it may not have been the most entertaining Super Bowl ever in terms of how dominated New England was by Seattle, but that halftime performance with a special surprise appearance from Lady Gaga, even if you didn't understand the Spanish language, man, there was a high entertainment value at halftime for sure. So thanks to Nero for that again.
That was huge. Agreed.
And Puerto Rico was well represented. I know that. They were going nuts.
So
all righty.
Yep.
Appreciate you guys. And I have the number, by the way. I bookmarked it and I forgot to put it in our quick hits. How about this? The halftime show averaged 128.2 million viewers from 8:15 to 8:30 Eastern. What? That is insane.
Say that again.
128.2 million viewers from 8:15 to 8:30.
Wow.
Which broke NFL social media records. And that was when Bad Bunny or Benito was up there on stage. That's insane.
Wow.
Unreal.
Well, they chose him for a reason.
I was going to say, like, regardless of where you're at on it, whether you're a fan or not, the NFL made it clear. It makes it clear basically every year, whether it's Kendrick last year or Benito this year, they're going to go with the most global reach guy or gal. And
Yeah.
clearly, so far, the numbers bear that out, that was the right investment made. So thanks, guys. Appreciate you for hanging with us. For whatever reason, Twitter did not fire off today.
No.
Don't know, Sarah, to be honest with you. We'll talk about it post-show. We usually, all of our procedural stuff was the same. Might be something on the back end that was out of our control. So for those of you that follow us on X and tune in through X, sorry, it didn't fire off today. Don't know why.
It's
We'll
there
try and
if you
figure it out.
click on our profiles where it says live.
Yeah.
But it's not in our feed, which is weird.
Pretty strange. So if
Yeah.
you were out there looking for us in that space, don't know. A lot more interactive, needless to say, in the YouTube space. So if you are on X and you follow us on X, just know you'd be a great support, great help for the continued growth of our YouTube channel if you pop over on that platform and watch us over there. So thanks to Primary Residential Mortgage. Thanks to you, partner. Thanks to everybody who's tuned in today, who left super chat donations and continues to engage with us and interact with us all year round. So for Sarah, I'm Bobby signing off from this Wednesday Ravens Lunch Hour live stream. We'll be back tomorrow with more coverage, as we will be all off season long as we roll on for free agency, the draft, and everything else in between. Voltrons, appreciate you guys as always. Thanks for being with us, and we will catch up with you tomorrow here inside the vault.